You're very different in the policies that you've supported in the past. You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator. You supported the Green New Deal. You supported Medicare for all. You've supported legalizing marijuana. Joe Biden doesn't support those things. So are you going to bring the policies, those progressive policies that you supported as senator, into a Biden administration?
What I will do, and I promise you this, and this is what Joe wants me to do, this was part of our deal. I will always share with him my lived experience as it relates to any issue that we confront. And I promised Joe that I will give him that perspective and always be honest with him.
And is that a socialist or progressive perspective?
No. No, it is the perspective of a woman who grew up a black child in America, who was also a prosecutor, who also has a mother who arrived here at the age of 19 from India, who also, likes hip hop. Like, what do you want to know?
Well, I want to give you the opportunity to address this, because at the Republican National Convention, President Trump made the case that Joe Biden is going to be nothing more than a Trojan horse for socialist policies, for the left wing of the Democratic Party. Are you going to push those policies when you're vice president of the United States?
I am not going to be confined to Donald Trump's definition of who I or anybody else is. And I think America has learned that would be a mistake.
So just to button that up, because you have fought for Medicare for all. That's not something that Joe Biden supports. If you become vice president, would you say to a President Biden, you know what? We should really be pushing for Medicare for all, not a public option. That's just not going to do it. That's not my value.
I would not have joined the ticket if I didn't support what Joe was proposing. And so our plan includes expanding on everything that Joe, together with President Obama, created with the Affordable Care Act. By contrast, you have Donald Trump, who's in court right now trying to get rid of a policy that brought health care to over 20 million people, including protecting people with pre-existing conditions, and he's doing it in the middle of a pandemic that has killed over 215,000 Americans.
Another day, another example of the media in this country taking its cues from bad faith actors on the right. Whether intentional or not, the American press has been fundamentally broken by the right-wing media's disingenuous framing, like their constant fear-mongering that everything Democrats do is socialism or communism or Marxism. And as Kamala Harris showed, the only appropriate response is to laugh. So that we are unequivocally clear, the policies that Democrats, even the furthest left Democrats, are calling for would not make America a socialist country. There is a difference between social programs and socialism. We already have social programs in the United States. They're Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. They are the most popular programs in the nation. For both Democrats and Republicans, the supposed arch rivals of socialism. And guess what? We're still here. We're still a capitalist country, and Hugo Chavez didn't show up to lead the United States, meaning quite obviously that social programs and capitalism are not mutually exclusive. The simple fact is that without any redistributive programs, the already enormous inequality in this country would be mind-boggling. That's why we have a progressive tax structure. We take wealth from the top stratospheres and redistribute it to the lower tiers. Without redistributive programs, seniors wouldn't be able to afford healthcare. The disabled wouldn't be able to care for themselves at all. Kids would go hungry. That's why we have programs like Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. And even still, it's not enough. Even still, seniors are poor in the US, children are hungry in the US, and Americans more broadly have dismal healthcare, especially in red states. But the point is that without those programs, the damage would be even more catastrophic. But again, having these redistributive programs does not make us a socialist country. It makes us a healthier country, it makes us a more compassionate country, it makes us a fairer country, but it does not make us a socialist country. And every time a journalist or a host or anyone at all falls for this Republican diversionary tactic, they're doing a disservice to the people who rely on these programs to survive by linking them to a GOP boogeyman. You shouldn't be shamed by Republicans for using Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security. The job of a society is to raise everyone's quality of life life, to lift up our neighbors and friends and family. When everyone is healthy, guess what? Healthcare costs go down for everyone. When everyone is able to accumulate wealth, crime goes down and communities become safer for everyone. These are not difficult concepts, and the fact that Republicans try to frame social programs as being bad for society flies in the face of very, very simple logic. The fact is that when Norah O'Donnell asked Kamala Harris if Biden's going to be a Trojan horse for the left wing to push their socialist policies, she's handing the Trump campaign a massive in-kind contribution.
At the Republican National Convention, President Trump made the case that Joe Biden is going to be nothing more than a Trojan horse for socialist policies, for the left wing of the Democratic Party. Are you going to push those policies when you're vice president of the United States?
I am not going to be confined to Donald Trump's definition of who I or anybody else is. And I think America has learned that that would be a mistake.
So just to button that up, because you have fought for Medicare for all. That's not something that Joe Biden supports. If you become vice president, would you say to a President Biden, you know what? We should really be pushing for Medicare for all, not a public option. That's just not going to do it.
The policies being pushed by the left are not socialist. The left, even the farthest left reaches, are calling for everyone in the richest country on the face of the earth to have basic access to healthcare, just like every other country in the world, which again, we already have a version of here with Medicare, and somehow we haven't devolved into Venezuela. They're calling for a $15 minimum wage as opposed to the starvation wages we have now. Being able to put food on your table for yourself and your kids isn't socialist. They're calling for investing in renewable energy so that we have a planet to live on where sea level rise doesn't wipe out the coasts. Not exactly sure survival is limited to just socialists. They're calling for stopping subsidies to fossil fuels. If anything, they want less socialism. There is no reason that our tax dollars are supporting billion-dollar conglomerates other than the fact that those subsidies were written into our tax code in exchange for campaign donations. And oil and gas companies overwhelmingly support Republicans. Although in fairness, this is an issue that needs to be rectified on both sides of the aisle. The point is that none of what even the furthest left Democrats are calling for even counts as socialism. So media figures should have an actual understanding of what they're saying before repeating right-wing talking points that were only designed to attack Democrats. What Kamala Harris brings to the ticket isn't socialism. It's not far-left radicalism. It's an understanding of what it's like to live in America as not a wealthy white man. It's an understanding that elected officials are there not to help themselves, they're there to help the vast majority of Americans. Call that a liberal or a progressive or a socialist or a communist or whatever you want, but one thing is for sure, it's definitely not a Republican, and that's what's most important. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.